time for another hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Wow, that's
we're
too
gonna.
early for this.
I know, yeah. We haven't had our coffee yet. We're gonna tackle the controversial opinion topic of 3D printing in the miniature world.
We went there. The season's early.
We're diving into we're using the good content first. Yeah.
Hot take number 2 is already 3D printing.
All of the good content.
Jesus. Okay. That's
and my sort of I guess thesis is that 3D printing, at least in its like kind of modern or like current state, can never and will never replace plastic model kits.
What a take.
Yeah, I know, right?
Of course, I agree.
Yeah, you're like...
And I guess we should we have the flashing disclaimer to hobby store owners or whatever.
Yeah, of course. We have a massive bias in this fight.
We'll give you our reasons.
But, I always tell people, I'm also a customer. I'm also a person who's been consuming, Jay, as well, consuming and doing these hobbies for 25 plus years. Mm-hmm. So... we also come at it from that angle as well, right?
Yeah, so. You've kind of seen enough. And I think we have a lot of good analogs in other things that aren't Warhammer, but they're Warhammer adjacent, or they're kind of the same business. There's different things. You could say Magic, you could say Lego. Yeah. These are things that, are collectible, are luxury items in terms of like cost, and are reproducible. Like there's lots of clones of these things. Yeah. You could literally, print shop Magic cards. That's not that, and printers of, regular printers of high quality have been existed for, decades or whatever. You could have... Oh, yeah. Even in the, obviously... Even in the 90s, you probably could have found someplace that could print.
Well, I mean, proxy quality for trading card games has gotten, incredibly good.
Yeah, So, the new Chinese... prints and things are very good. So and it still doesn't stop the machine though.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. People want the genuine stuff.
Yeah.
So I got a couple points, and then we can kind of comment on that. And then if you have anything you can add on, but
try.
My number one thing, at least today, is material. So the fact that we're talking really about resin printers here, because the plot printers are kind of low detailed. They're not really, you're not printing
pretty much. Yeah, we're only talking resin.
So resin printers, and Jay and I neither of us own one, but we have friends that use them extensively. We have access to them, so we have a lot of, and we have a lot of customers that come in and talk to us.
People are I'm turning off the video. You guys don't even know.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Resin, the material itself, for a lot of hobbyists is a big turnoff because. Yep. There are limitations. There's issues with the snapping, the breakability. Obviously, you have scratching and chipping issues like you do with the pewter. And then in terms of cleaning it, you have sort of a more you kind of have to think about it a bit more because you can't really sand resin without making sure that you're wearing a mask.
I think to add to your point really is I see that whole sphere, again the resin printing sphere now. It's a lot like when airbrushing became game on the scene. When it arrived in let's say 10 years ago. I'm talking purely in the wargaming sphere. People have been airbrushing forever, but for a while I just distinctly remember going to tournaments and events, and it was that was a big deal. Whoa, this guy airbrushed his army.
Yeah, that's right.
And airbrushing was this crazy new thing, and people were oh, everyone's gonna airbrush everything, and it's gonna just take over. And the reality is, at least for us here, as we sell airbrushes, is the cost obviously is a barrier. And 3D printing has come down, but it's still, I don't know, probably a $600-700 thing. At least, and then the spacing, and then similarly to the airbrushing, there's containing the mess.
It's once you get even simplify and say doing it.
Yep.
It's another thing you have to do.
And then there's a learning curve. Yep. There's maintaining the device, just how you have to clean your airbrush. Yep. And then something prints and it prints wrong, and you have to fix I know lots of people that are veteran 3D printer people, and they just like airbrushing, they have to buy new nozzles and fix broken things. And our friend literally just had to go down. He went down in the States because he wanted to get a deal. He had to buy a new printer, basically, because the thing that broke on his was technically replaceable. But then he's because of I guess the cost versus it's one of those weird you might as well just get a new one or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, so I think that's
No, it's a good point. Like I think and that was going to be my second point. Was
sorry.
like, no, it's okay. I'm glad it's organic that way. It's like the whole setup is like is something that like people that get into 3D printing, I don't think they realize that like it is a hobby to itself in a way.
Yep.
And that's okay. Like I really love it. Like I think it's cool, and like I use 3D printed bits all the time. I think it's awesome. But the fact that like they think that like it's going to catch on, like everyone's going to have it like a paper printer at home. I think that is probably optimistic, because there may be a day when like there's a type of resin and cleaning stuff that doesn't like require venting, and like it's like super easy and just happens and it's automatic. Like the iPod effect or whatever, like
that
where
was
like
what
like the Apple version or whatever, it might be a thing one day. It might be,
and it's got to be printing like your food, because like that would be the only thing I can think of where you would absolutely make sense for you to have one at home. If you're like pushing a button, you're scrolling on your phone and then you push a button and it prints a burger or something, because like everything else, I remember when like they were coming into the market, and I would watch these ads of like, look, this guy's like printing like, I don't know, he printed like a bowl for some fruit or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the dollar store has those. Like, you know what I mean? Like we already make like so many like little cheap like less than a cent cost things. Yeah. On mass for billions of people. Like,
well, don't get me wrong. Like they have like amazing applications in like the medical community.
And,
like,
Oh, that's
if you need a niche thing made to a certain shape, it's incredible what these things can do. But like I think Jay's point is very
I think that's why you don't necessarily see one in every home.
Right. Well, that's just it. Right.
There's just certain things it's printing that you're just like, well, like I guess it's convenient. I can do it here, but I could just like go to the store and get whatever. Well,
and that kind of leads me into my third point, which is like, even if all that stuff was true, and it could be super easy to have one at home, I still strongly believe that plastic model kits are here to stay, because the one thing that the resin or the printer, the 3D printer doesn't give you as a person that's doing the hobby is the hobby part. Like you miss out on all the building.
Oh, the building is massive.
Which as a person who's been in hobby shops, like running them for like 15, 16 years, Jay's been around almost just as long. The amount of people that like literally just build kits because that's what they like to do, and they don't even paint them or play with them. I mean, look at the Gundam hobby.
It's literally the entire Gunpla.
It's literally the entire Gunpla,
billions of dollar industry, huge industry. Yeah.
And Games Workshop has the same thing. Like people collect the models, build them.
It's what if I told you they purposely make models harder to build?
That's right.
On purpose.
Yeah. Like, if you built a Redemptor kit, you'll understand.
Like you can really tell with the starter kit stuff, because like you'll get like the Leviathan box or something, and they'll make models that like, oh, this goes together in 3 ways or 3 pieces. Yeah. And then the regular kit comes out and it's like 15 pieces. And you're like, why? And you're like, that's what people like to build. Models, like just build them. Straight up. So
and the customization and all the sort of like choices you get and that sort of thing. I do feel like that's the thing the resin, like the sort of the 3D printer will have a really hard time mimicking or creating that experience for people.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, again, it comes back to like you could I guess make a file that's more pieces, but I don't know. Building multi-resin is way different and not as satisfactory.
We've built Forge World kits.
It's a chore.
It's literally a chore.
It does not have that clicking.
There's something about
satisfaction
that process of like going to a shop, picking up a kit that you're excited about, opening it up, having the sprues, clipping pieces off, looking at the instructions. Like it's a hobby to itself, right? Like it's like when it's that like kid in you that built a model car, and like So, so those are my three major points about it. Did you have any?
I can always go on, I guess, about the printers. I'm just trying to think. I had a thought and I've lost it. But
the other thing, I guess, that like Jay and I were like very initially sort of like not against 3D printing, but like very skeptical of it because like the people that like endorse it.
Oh yeah.
It really reminds me of like things like cryptocurrency, where like you get like these people that it's almost like a cult thing where like they have to become like salespeople for like an ideology almost, or like.
I mean, it's a couple things. You have the classic like I dumped a bunch of money into X, so I have to justify it or just like talk like to make myself feel better. Then that's the best thing, and you become a fanboy of it, and and then the other thing is like these. Unfortunately, the Venn diagram does have like quite a bit of overlap of the anti-GW guy, which I think is the classic. Because the reason they bought the printer is because they didn't want to spend the money that it costs to collect Warhammer these days, or throughout history. To be honest, this is relative. And so they're like, I'm going to buy this printer. I'm just going to print my armies from now on. And a couple things I've noticed, and like the good quality printers have been around now for like some time, like I don't know, good 3, 4, 5 years. Like it's not
the 4Ks,
the 4K print.
That was a huge step forward. Yeah,
where you can like print like pretty nice looking stuff, and you could print an army, and I get it only costs a couple $100 max, or maybe whatever. And I'm still not seeing like armies and armies of these at like events and at things. It's kind of still just a few people here and there, a few gaming groups. And so really what I'm mostly seeing it is the hobby enhancer, like the airbrush can be, where you're like print, like full disclosure, like Chris and I, when our hobby group got back into Horse Heresy a couple years ago, like last year or whatever, there were just some things that like made sense because like we didn't have jump packs or something, or specific little arms and bits. And that was perfect. Like, was able to buy our plastic kits and augment them with some resin. And I think that was like the happy medium, because you're still like supporting the company that makes the game, so you don't have to feel bad about like abusing that, and that because again, like just like our store and everything Warhammer related or miniature related, if you don't buy the models and the company dies, obviously Games Workshop can take that hit better than other companies,
even on a smaller scale. Like if you don't buy your local hobby shop, you're not going to have a place to play.
That's a great.
If that's important.
That's probably a better point. Yeah, for sure. So you kind of get the guy who's just already curmudgeon-y, and I think the sphere where it does really well, or is probably going to like maybe not take over, but has taken a significant slice out, and I can see is more the figures, like where we're talking about the models that you just get to paint. You're just collecting them to paint. They're usually bigger,
the building experience is irrelevant. Like I find a lot of the time,
it's all about getting another cool, different sculpt. And some of the companies like Big Child Creative that we stock have really leaned into that, actually into their production, which is kind of great. They've still like they've kind of taken I like their concept, because what they're doing is they're like, we're going to buy like really crazy good quality printers, and we're going to use like these really impressive materials. There's like some revolution there in making like the plastic like really or like it's like a hybrid plastic resin or something that can like bend and do things that regular plastic can't, or regular resin can't. Sorry. And anyway, so they're printing, and then they're selling these things like in box or whatever. And I think people are happy to buy those because they get kind of maybe a little bit cheaper. They get to iterate and make new releases faster for people to consume. And there was another topic, a small topic. It's another limiting factor in the 3D printer world that I just came back to my head, was it's only as good as the sculpts that you can find.
Of course, yeah.
So you need designers and companies that are making things that are worth buying, and sometimes there's good stuff for free, but a lot of it is garbage.
A lot. Like, you have to rifle through a lot of bad stuff.
You're like,
and I mean, there's also that sort of like underlying issue where like you are kind of like, the stuff you're finding is like it's technically an intellectual property breach.
Yep.
A lot of it is, right? So there's that kind of line of like, is it ethical? Is it not ethical? It's sort of like it's sort of like, so it's a tricky murky sort of situation out there.
Well, and even if someone had a great design or print, it would be very simple for Games Workshop to shut it, cease and desist it, or whatever it is, as they do with small YouTubers who make some like fluff video or something, or the guys that were making Ninth Age or whatever you call it, the Warhammer Fantasy kind of continuating, where they just had quiet little group making their, taking the old rule set and just keeping it going, and Games Workshop was like, okay, you gotta shut it down.
That's cute until we re-release our own.
So it's not that difficult for them to do that. And then one more thing I wanted to touch on, it goes back kind of full circle to why we think it's not going to take over fully, is, and Games Workshop knows this as well, and I'm sure lots of, whoever, any game, any company, Atomic Mass, etc., is they're going to make sure that the most relevant events like that are on Twitch or whatever, all the major tournaments are like their product only. And this is how Magic did it with like Pro Tours. So any form of their game that is like the most relevant and people are watching and using that as their like, this is how you do it and whatever.
Yeah, you can't use proxies at an official event. It's not allowed.
So
right?
And I guess maybe the prints will get good enough that you can but I don't think it's gonna be a hard time to make an exact duplicate of an exact just like with Magic with an exact card where like the keen eye can find the little markings and things that require the...
Well, here's the thing. Resin weighs more than plastic. So it's a really...
You can just pick up the model.
The proverbial deck check is like, just pick it up.
Just pick it up.
Like, is this heavy?
And even if you found a way to hollow it out or something, like it's just like there's... Yeah, I'm sure if you get the little jeweler's thing on and you can just see like, hey,
we used to joke when we used to run horse heresy events back in the day when we were worried about China cast or whatever. Yeah. We would just be like, oh yeah, we'll just do a core sample.
Core samples is the most extreme.
That up, we'll do a drill in the bottom. We'll take a look. We're like, nope.
It's like the Magic card bend test. Yeah, we'll just all I have to do is just pin vice a little bit here. Oh, that's not plastic. Yeah. Sorry, mate, disqualified.
Disqualified.
Yeah. So, but the weight one is by far the easiest. For sure. So if the biggest players are making it such that that their marquee events and all the cool stuff that goes along with their company, all their events is their models only, then that's already quite a bit of it's kind of like an anti-piracy thing, right?
Yeah, and like there is a massive collective business interest to keep the kind
all
of
the stores that carry the product
keep it going the way it is, right? So keep that in mind when you're like thinking about how you're gonna outprint Games Workshop or whatever. It's not feasible, right? Like little mom and pop shops like ours, like we have no reason to support that. Like there's no business case for us, right?
No, it you would have to get to some point where like Games Workshop is like literally selling the STLs themselves
to stores like us. We can print them
or something like that or whatever. And just like the company would have to be in such a weird spot.
Yeah, it really
they would have to suffer some catastrophic thing where they're like, this is our last way to make revenue or something. But up until then, it's just not happening.
Yeah. And I could see them maybe doing that one day with like their classic range of models, like their old stuff. That'd be really cool. Like,
that would make sense.
You can go print like second edition Tyranids.
Sure.
Because what do they care, right?
That would be fine,
I think they'd have to forget a lot of what it is that they do to get to that point. You
could even also do like the ability to... This is because of recently my son and I do pick a brick on the games or on the Lego website. Sometimes I want like a specific piece or whatever. And it's just fun to see what's available. But they do like rotations and stuff.
Can you get like 1989 like knights and stuff like that on there? Or?
Not 1989 ones, but you can. Okay. They have like they kind of have like a. They always have they do. They have like armors and headpieces that are like from that era. I guess you're right. They do. But they cost extra.
Of course they do.
So
it's retro.
So this is a stupid segue, but like I think it was like the little Robin Hood hat, the little green triangular.
Yeah, I know that one very well.
Yeah. So like a blue one might cost like I don't know 50 cents or something, which is a lot for a tiny Lego piece. Yep. But they're like it was just a special piece. How else are you gonna get it? And then anyway, the green one though, the iconic green one is like $1.50 though. Like it's like
Do you know who wore that?
Yeah. So things like that. Yeah. So they're very clever. So I don't know. Maybe that could happen. I doubt it. But actually, with like Games Workshop pieces, like arms and swords and things.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who knows?
Basing things would be good though.
They're nowhere near that at this point.
No.
So
So.
Anyways, if you agree, disagree, have different things to add, put them in the comments below.
If you think we're crazy.
If you think we're insane, because we are insane.
Yeah.
And let us know if you want us to take on any other hot take topics.
Yeah,
in the
send
future.
in your hot takes.
We are not afraid to tackle contriversial things. So
It has to be hobby related.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, we could go into other topics, but I don't think you want to hear things like that.
So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.